guys, it's Laurel checking in for another video log. I have an update that is, I guess, not so good, not so exciting, but I'm in the unknown right now, so I also trusted to be part of the process, and I trust that process. But the update is Dr. Dispenza has a Florida workshop that he announced, and I was super excited about it. I've been meditating toward manifesting a workshop experience, and one opened up in Florida where I am. And I was like, great, this is the opportunity. It's right in my backyard. He only comes to the United States a handful of times out of the year, let alone in my backyard. It's meant to be. The only problem was they announced over a week ago that they are going to open up registration for the workshop on the 22nd of September. And I was like, dang, I'm broke as a joke right now. The last video actually talks about how broke I was and still am right now. So the registration opened yesterday and it sold out in a day. And I'm battling, I guess, with maintaining elevated emotions, maintaining emotions of worthiness and abundance, because the old me would want to default to victim mode. Like, I kind of grew up seeing a lot of my peers, get things that I didn't get, have experiences that I didn't have because of financial constraints. So people would be taking trips all around the world in college and backpacking, and I could never do those things because I never had the money. And so when stuff like this happens and I see an opportunity that I greatly want and money is yet again the barrier, it brings up a host of emotions that are the old me. So I'm working on leaving that behind, and the new me is impervious to that. So the new me doesn't get affected by my external circumstances, and I just have to remind myself that again and again today. And would I have liked to attend that? Absolutely. But I also have to realize that, I've been doing my meditations daily, and I'm in the unknown. I'm in a space of creation, and maybe it's not in my cards yet to quite go. I don't know when I'll go to one. I know that I will. I know that I intend to, and I'm going to continue working to manifest one. So that happened, and that is testing me, but I think so far I'm passing. I'm, keeping my emotions up, and I'm going to continue to do the work. I'm not giving up. Sometimes, it feels like maybe it's not working. We're literally in the point that we have our credit card maxed out, cash advances. We're down to my husband's business. He had to pay somebody, and it drew from our account, and we're down to like $20 for the next who knows how long. We don't know when we're gonna get paid from some of our clients. So it's kind of a scary time, I guess. It's definitely the unknown, and I have to remind myself that I'm abundant. I have to keep those energies of abundance. So I've been thinking about my mind movie. I've been just closing my eyes and even opening my eyes and keeping those elevated emotions. I think that's super duper important. If I want to change and get out of this situation, I have to live as if abundance has already arrived. And so that's the challenge, and keeping those emotions up. And there's actually a really good writing that came from Dr. Dispenza's newsletter yesterday that came out, and it was just so profound to me. And it kind of talked about the entire purpose of the work he does and the workshops he does is to prime you to go out and live your future, create your future, and live as if your future has arrived, with your eyes open in the day-to-day world, with the letdowns, with the challenges, with the financial problems, with the disappointments. You have to live as if your future's there, because that's the only way you're going to draw it to you. So I actually want to read a passage from that email that I thought was super profound, and here it is.
So how do we move to a greater level of consciousness? Simply by not reacting to our environment, by learning how to pause, self-regulate, and wait for the chemicals to settle down before we act. This is how we outgrow victimization, judgment, competition, or the need to gossip or misrepresent someone else. What we're doing in our workshops and here as a community is simply asking people to live this work. If you want to be a master, a saint, or a mystic, then you have to start acting like one with your eyes open. This is the work, and while your environment may not reorganize immediately to reflect what you're doing, if you can operate from this consciousness, then you're no longer seduced by whatever it is that triggers your program. whether it's a pandemic, wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, a financial crisis, loss of a relationship or job, and so forth. If you're living at a different level of consciousness, then just like disco in the 70s, you just outgrow it. You outgrow the attachment to your reaction. Now, you're no longer feeling the need to steal, cheat, gossip, blame, and so on because you're creating from a greater place. Only victims do that. Creators don't.
So the other thing that happened that's been an emotional challenge right now too is my husband's father learned that he has COVID, and he's up in Massachusetts, and it's a really advanced bad stage of COVID. Spoiler alert, it's not just the flu, it's very serious and should be taken seriously. But yeah, he has a bacterial infection in his lungs, and actually the COVID was so bad that they could see it on an x-ray. They didn't even have to test him for it. So he's in the hospital. He's been being treated for that for a couple days now. He had to go into oxygen, and he had to, they increased his oxygen dosage, and he actually used to be a smoker, and he's asthmatic, and he's in his 60s, so he's just like super vulnerable. That's another situation where I've decided not to panic, not to let myself feel desperate or scared, and instead in my morning meditations I've started doing tuning into new potential meditations, and Dr. Dispenza has you focus on two potentials. For me, one of them is my father-in-law. So I imagine him in the hospital getting better. I even imagine his lungs like kicking out that phlegm and just the viruses and the microbes out of his lungs and getting better. So I imagine us seeing him in spring for a wedding. I imagine us all reuniting, and I just visualize that, and I focus on my heart center. I've never done a healing, so this is kind of like, I guess, my homemade version. But I focus on my heart center, and I send him love, and I imagine my heart sending love into his lungs to help him heal. So he's still in dire straits. They've had to increase his oxygen dosage, and he's going to be in the hospital at least for 5 more days. So I'm not going to let it get me scared. We're staying positive, and I'm just going to continue dedicating that one potential of him being healed, because that is a potential yet. And then, of course, the second potential that I'm working on was actually going to the workshop in Florida, but I think that that's past, so I'm going to continue just working on abundance. And I think that's the particular challenge, is because part of me feels like I need to go to a workshop to generate abundance, and the other part of me is like, I need abundance to go to the workshop. So it's kind of a catch-22, but I understand also that thinking is kind of a limited state of mind, and it's a thought process that is born out of lack and separation, and I can't let myself think that way. So I just continue to just do the work, even if it doesn't make sense. And I think that email that Dr. Dispenza sent out yesterday in the newsletter, that message really hit home for me, because I needed to be reminded it's not just about checking off your box and meditating at 4 a.m. I've done really well at that. It's about carrying it throughout the day. That's the challenge. When your bank account calls you, which happened to us today because you're overdrawn by $1,100 for a client, or when the workshop of your dreams opens and you can't attend it because of money, when you have no idea how you're going to pay like your bills for the next month. All these things are true, but you can't let it bring you down. You can't let it bring you to the old personality, the old program, as Dr. Dispenza calls it. So that's been my challenge now, is just, and I think I've done well today, just kind of keep my emotions high, remind myself that I'm creating, I'm in the unknown, and that I have no idea what even tomorrow will bring. So definitely some challenges today, but I'm not going to let it bring me to my old self. I'm going to keep doing the work, keep my spirit up, and just keep marching forward. Thanks for joining me.